Hello good people and welcome back. In 2016, the then world champion Magnus Carlsen played a blitz game. A blitz game against SuperGM Levon in Paris, France during the Grand Chess Tour. Now Magnus Carlsen is no Mikhail Tal or Garry Kasparov in the realm of creating dynamic positions from the beginning, but Magnus is a technician of the highest order, meaning he can and he will switch from strategic chess to tactics as the position requires it. And if you check his moves by Stockfish, in the pivotal moments, they're usually quite correct. Now have a look at this position. So Magnus places white here, and he defends e4 with queen to f3, rook to e7, then a4. So essentially protecting the knight, but more importantly, if the rook moves, this is no longer a liability. Knight to f8, knight to c3, rerouting the knight to the center, queen to e8, creating a battery potentially on e4, rook a to e1. This no longer needs defending, as we've seen. c6 defending the square there on d5. And now Magnus plays f5, dominating the light squares here. As Magnus usually does in a very Magnus-like fashion, he's trying to grind out the position by getting more territory and then placing his pieces in ideal squares. But here, Magnus knows that it's time to switch the game into tactics mode. And he plays e5. Brilliant move. In fact, very brilliant, because its purpose is twofold, and then exponentially increases White's chances of a win, and actually the only move in that position. We'll find out in the game how crazy this move is, because it is. Let's level up that ELO.
Round 1, fight!
So this game took place in Paris, France, I have to say it that way, during the Grand Chess Tour. 2016, Magnus is still a world champion, the world champion, and he plays against Levon Aronian, playing as white. Oh, before I forget, if you do like this content, it's helping in your chess journey, and you kind of tolerate it, or can't tolerate it, please leave a like and sub. You have my gratitude. Let's get started. Magnus starts with e4, e5 with the opponent, knight to f3, knight to c6. We have the Ruy Lopez Spanish. Knight to f6, d3. Bishop to c5, bishop takes. Magnus decides to open up the position. Mind you, the a6 variation didn't happen, so here we are, opening that up. h3, preventing any ideas there. Bishop to e6, knight to c3, queen to d6, opening up the options. Where is black castling here? The options are, there's two options basically. Knight to a4 by Magnus, bishop to b6, castle king, and castle king. Levon decides to castle kingside. b3, opening that up. Also ideas here. Maybe a retreat square for the knight. h6, bishop to b2, knight to d7. Now takes, because this was exerting pressure on the pawn there on f2 as a pin, and it's a pretty decent piece. So it's for the knight under rim to get rid of that piece. That's a good trade. Knight takes on b6, a takes. Mind you, doesn't take here, instead takes on this side to keep this file open. If you're losing an active piece, get some compensation, get an active rook, because why not? d4 by Magnus, e takes on d4, knight takes, avoiding the trade the trade exists, but avoiding a queen trade. c5. Mind you, this, because of that capture, there is a doubled pawn on this side, and Magnus hits with this. Levon avoids a trade, so c4 is played to protect the knight, also for an escape square later or a reroute. And here we have f6, possibly to tuck the bishop there. f4, And just as a side variation, you might be wondering why this pawn can't be just removed. Is it because of this move? Well, it's part of that, but there is a more direct intermezzo move. Let's just move it back. What if Levon decides to take on e4? It's not this. It will be, but first you have the capture there on knight takes on c7, forking. At which point, if you attack it, now you have rook to e1. So yes, there's tactical venom in the positions after, say, queen to f5. Now you gobble that piece for free. You're up a pawn and a piece and an attack, and everything just collapses for black. So after f4, untouchable, rook f to e8, and now queen to f3, because this is now defended, but more importantly, well, you want to clear and connect your rooks so that, well, you can double them. Rook to e7, a4, knight to f8, knight to c3 reroute, queen to e8, and now rook a to e1, c6, defending and preventing the infiltration there on d5, f5 by Magnus, and now bishop to f7. Mind you, this is blitz, and you know what happens, or what happened in the intro. Magnus sacrifices a pawn. Just a pawn? Is it just a pawn? Yes, it's just a pawn, but it's completely devastating. And now, it's devastating because, well, Aronian has to respond. And the idea was, even though this was blocked by the opponent, Magnus creates space here for the knight. This will be a centralized knight here. And Levon is left with two choices, capture with pawn or capture with rook. He decides to capture with a pawn, but had he taken with the rook, knight to e4 would have been played. And the idea is, capturing with a rook puts this dark squared bishop to life. So after rook to e7, now takes. And you can see, after takes, there is a royal fork. Easily. Goodbye, queen. That's not what happened in the game, nor was that the choice. But say after captures here, possible variations is bishop to h5, and now threatening. The idea here, you can't move the rook away from the 7th rank, otherwise it's checkmate. After knight to d7, it's, yeah, this game is GG's. So, in the game, f takes on e5. The idea behind f takes on e5 is to close this diagonal by putting a pawn, a lesser piece in there. But Magnus continues with knight to e4, knight to e4. It seems like an okay move, but the whole concept of creating space for the knight here on e4, and then creating activity for the bishop there in one move is such a Magnus-like idea. And this is done in blitz too, against a Super GM. So, knight to h7, reactivating the knight to defend f6, and here Magnus just casually strolls the queen there, eyeing this pin now. Now, rook to d7, trying to get the rook away from the push here. And mind you, after queen to g3, you might be thinking, why not just get out of the way? You can't because of f6. And after takes and takes, again this is open. And this is open, and this is open. So after knight takes on f6, rook takes, and this is attacked multiple times, this other rook is in the realm of useless. It's just useless. King moves, now attacking here. Because this awkward placement of the bishop, it's hard to defend. And now queen to h4. Basically, complete annihilation. You can't. It's just, you can't. It's just so restrictive. Magnus plays queen to g3, like I said. Rook to d7 is what happened in the game. And now simply takes with a threat of checkmate once. Queen to f8. And Magnus just takes the king out for a stroll and tucks it on h2. b5, hoping and begging for counterplay, but if you look at the variation here, it's 5.6 positive for white. Magnus even teases and takes. If you take, of course, that's a checkmate. Rook 2, d2. Now knight 2, e6, attacking that one more time. Also presenting maximum headaches for Levon. That if you take, this gets attacked. And in fact, at this position, in this position, black resigned because of, let's just say, if you take and take, the queen still has to defend against checkmate, so queen to e7 leads to rook to f7, checkmate. And if you take the other route, your only other option, of course, is after takes and takes, you block the checkmate, and at which point you lose the queen, and the game is GG's. Anyways, masterful play by Magnus against a 2792. He treats 2792 GMs like they were not even in his league, and most people are not. Anyways, amazing game by Magnus. Hope you got something out of it. I know I did. I'm not going to be playing at 2800 soon enough, but if you're curious about my progress, I am posting my Road to 2200 series. I hope you find that somewhat entertaining and somewhat instructive. I'll see you guys later. Double peace.